Come join me, Asajj Ventress, and the fellas on Rule the Galaxy.
Hey, Star Wars fans, Rule the Galaxy fans, we're coming in hot on this one. Bill O'Reilly style. Coming in hot. We have two of our favorite guests, Mr. Scott Ryfun, Mr. Steve Glosson. And after I cleared up my technical difficulties, as Mr. Ryfun did as well, we are ready to go with the Rule the Galaxy Chapter 253. 253. We haven't caught up to Steve yet on his close to 300, but Chapter 253 of Rule the Galaxy. Enough of hearing me. I'm going to go around the room. Scott Ryfun, Steve Glosson, whichever one of you wants to start, let's go.
We're doing it live!
The whole thing's so.
Can't say the rest of it on a family podcast, but you get it.
Not at all. Yeah. Not at all. Well, YouTube these days is more controlled than the FCC stuff. I mean, like they're saying stuff on TV they won't let you say on YouTube anymore.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's wild.
Yeah.
What used to be the Wild Wild West has become quite tame.
Yeah,
depending on who you are.
That's the interwebs at large.
Yeah, I'm sure some people are getting away with what they want to say on YouTube.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but let's not do that to your show. So.
No. Let's see what we can get away with and what we can't.
I feel like every time Ryfun and I are on here together, we end up like completely being like, let's just polarize the audience while we're here.
We had, oh goodness, who did we just have? Ryan McGee from ESPN and SEC Network on, and we were talking about how much I enjoy the audiobook of I Am C-3PO by Anthony Daniels, and then the recent one with Billy D. Williams, which, he read that himself as well. The audiobooks are great.
I can't imagine him doing C-3PO.
Yeah. Well, he didn't. He did Lando Calrissian.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I should have put a comma. There was an important comma in there that didn't get placed.
Captain Solo, the odds of successfully navigating an asteroid field.
That might need to be redubbed because that would be awesome. But we brought up, Carrie Fisher's done an audiobook of her, memoirs and all that. And we said, what about Mark Hamill? And he said, well, he's kind of doing that online right now. He's kind of putting all his stories and his thoughts right now. So
moisture evaporators. Well, my first job was programming binary load lifters. Very similar to your evaporators.
Okay. No, you're going to go that direction. Can you give me a C-3PO version of "Hello, what have we here"?
I can't do 3PO at all.
Hello, what have we here?
Yeah, there you go.
You truly belong with us among the clouds.
Yes.
See, we're getting a crossover we didn't know we wanted
right
here.
Right.
Man, it kind of makes me want to go back to Empire and just watch that and flip-flop from the time they land. Yeah.
Over here. Hey. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going that way. It's much too rocky. This way is much easier. What makes you think there's settlements over there?
Don't get technical with me.
But then, if we do go that direction, the C-3PO L3, wasn't that her name? That relationship could have worked.
Would have been a lot smoother. Don't call me a mindless philosopher, you overweight blob of grease.
WD-40 works every time.
Every time. Hey, hold on. This oil bath is going to feel so good.
Thank the maker.
Oh gosh. No. That's fantastic. I love it. Billy D as C-3PO. George missed out on that one.
It's like just Freaky Friday, but
Yes.
Star Wars style.
In return, when he gets all the stormtroopers' attention and Jedi, and they run back, he's like, "Were you looking for me? I surrender."
Oh gosh. Man, it's not going to go out of my head now. I'm going to go watch those. Yeah.
Wonderful. We are now part of the tribe.
Oh yeah, the whole
the C-3PO story in Endor, that would be great as Lando.
Chimney Darth Vader.
Captain Solo Teak Low Carbon.
Yeah, people are probably listen. They're going to listen. They're going to go. They just laughed for 5 minutes and didn't really do anything.
Yeah. Can I talk about something today?
Yeah, that's the show, folks.
No, that's it.
Well, we weren't smart enough to put beer ads in the middle of Star Wars movies, and I will say that is going quite wild here recently. I thought it was fake at the beginning. I still kind of question if it is fake and it's just great advertising, but it seems to be very popular. People are talking about it everywhere, even people who aren't Star Wars fans.
Yeah, although I will say this, with me, it burned itself out really fast. like it hit hard and then it just burned. I'm kind of past that now.
Yeah. And I never really quite figured the whole thing out. Like I saw something on a show, and what I thought was the show themselves doing that. But they were using that advertisement thing. And then when I saw people say, "Oh, that's pretty clever," I guess when people do that in a foreign land, that's what they do, and Lucasfilm's not going to bite back too much. But that's the nature of the internet culture today, and everyone's just going to really run things into the ground.
Yeah, the only thing I don't understand, they've got the ad, they work the ad into the movie in a really weird way, and then every time they do it, I thought that was because they didn't want to have commercials, but then it always fades out, and I never see how it rejoins the movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
That.
Now, the only one I saw, and maybe this was a fake one, where he says, "I have something for you. Your father wanted you to have this when you're old enough," and he opens a chest, and it's a whatever it is, Chile Cerveza or whatever.
Cerveza Cristal. Come on,
Cerveza Cristal.
You got to know by now.
I only saw it the one time on one thing. Yeah, so they did. So that was an actual broadcast, and they
supposedly it was like Chile or somewhere, and
why did you say that way?
Chile, because that's how they say it. I try to respect the native peoples and the way they pronounce. Like I would pronounce your name if you had an unusual name. I would pronounce your name the way you would like to have it pronounced. So,
well, you know what? It's a country. Chile is what it's called.
Yeah, Chile.
Right.
No, Chile. That's like people who say spaghetti. Sorry, Joe. And
I don't.
Really. It's like you're not in Italy. You're not in Italy, and you're not speaking Italian. Don't like they're like, yeah, I think tonight for supper I'm going to have some spaghetti. Like,
I used to
say it that way.
No, but I mean, people get that way with their name. We had a lady. I don't think she'll ever listen, but I'll say it anyway. Well, I'll say this.
They're never going to listen to this show.
I'm going to change her first name. Well, I just don't think she has any interest in Star Wars. But I'll change her name to protect the innocent. But she was one of those that she had a name of a certain background, and then she would talk to you something. Hey y'all, what's going on? Hey, what y'all got going on? Oh, my name's Gloria Hernandez. Wait, what? Okay.
That kind of stuff really bothers me. I've seen it on Top Chef where girls like just talking normal and everything. She's like, so today I'm going to make some tamales. And I'm like, why are you doing that? Why do you suddenly go into that?
Isn't that appropriating the culture? I mean,
well, no, she's actually got Hispanic roots
of the culture.
Very American accent. Yeah.
Everything else she does is appropriating our culture.
Right.
No, that's not good.
The Southern culture, that is.
Oh, the Southern culture. What a wonderful culture.
Fried and that's about it. Fried and sweet. That's what the Southern culture really is. Yeah.
Yep, that's correct.
So it's been a little while since I've talked to both of you guys. I think the last time Scott and I were on a show together was we were with Mark Newbold, weren't we?
Yes. Yes. We were talking Marvel, and then we got almost all the way through it, and I never once mentioned the wheel, And then Newbold mentions it at the end, and I'm like, wait, what? I totally forgot to mention the wheel. And I'm like, Glosson, when Glosson does me, that's the first thing he does.
That's right. That's right. I tell you what they really should have adapted was the wheel storyline.
I'll
stick with that.
So before I go in to ask him what's going on with both of you, I thought it was very funny when I posted something out and said, it's been a while since we've had these guys on, and a certain guy said, and then it became gate, and then then other people were like, oh, we need some more action, so that's funny how that's the first thing that was brought up.
I think we've buried the shit since then.
The what?
The shit.
Oh, the
hatchet.
I thought we were going to do that in Joe's show.
Yeah, I was just testing YouTube. I was just seeing how far they could let us go.
I thought we decided we wouldn't test the YouTube link. We buried all that crap.
And I actually thought you were talking about the Who Jibs. You went so fast that I thought that's where you were going. So
yeah, well, we'll bury some Who Jibs too. Good Lord, well, might as well.
Chewy would have eaten them, so either way. If he's gonna eat a pork, he'll eat a Who Jib.
Who Jibs are the rabbits, right?
Yes, more or less, yeah.
Porgs were the little things that Chewy actually ate.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if he's gonna eat a pork, he's gonna eat a Who Jib.
Oh, sure. Why not?
Practically the same meat ratio.
Always thinking with your stomach.
And
he became Solo all of a sudden.
He's just doing everybody. He's just voicing everybody.
Well, Lando, Billy D probably would do anybody. That's the story.
Well, that's you got us there.
Well, okay, so it is going to be one of those shows.
Though, if Galaxy's Edge really wanted to, hit some numbers here, they could start selling Who Jib meals and porg meals. I mean, what you just take a little chicken, you make it look like a porg, right? I mean, Who Jib, I'm sure you could make something that looks like that. Why not?
Oh, you mean actually just like sell it as that?
Yeah, just sell it as a Who Jib,
fire rotisserie porg.
Yeah,
and Who Jib stew.
I'm all for it.
Now I'm just trying to pull up the menu here
because they have the Ronto wrap, but they don't.
They have the Ronto wrap at the Ronto Roasters, which makes perfect sense.
And they've got some kind of sausage,
but they don't have anything like Kawaki. They should have a Kawaki and monkey lizard meal as well.
That's tough though, because they sell them as cute critters as well. Yeah,
I really feel awkward about the people that were cooking that Kawaki and monkey lizard. So that really seems like you go to these places where they're like, yeah, we hunt the apes and eat them for our food, and it's like, okay, that feels weird. That feels uncouth.
So you can get Batuan beef,
chilled monkey brains,
Pekka tuna pokey, I guess that is.
Yeah, that's a poke.
Smoked kadu pork ribs. Now that sounds. You can't have smoked kadu and then say it's pork after that. No. That ruins it, doesn't it?
Now, what's a kadu?
A kadu that's the creature from episode 1, right? Isn't that the one they
are those what those were called?
I thought that was one of the creatures from episode 1.
Really?
The beast of burden.
Well, no, you got the Eope.
But we don't have any Eope meals.
But a kadu is the kadu. Yeah, the kadu is. I'm sorry, it's from episode 1. It's from Naboo.
Naboo.
It's the ones the Gungans ride on.
Right. Yes.
Huh.
The Gungan kadu.
So then you've got fried Endorian chicken.
A loyal beast.
And I just don't believe that chickens are Endorian. I think that's a cop out as well. And then
there are chickens on Endor.
They just have yellow or eyes or red eyes.
If you watch the Ewok Adventure, there are chickens walking around.
It's been a long time since I've watched the Ewok Adventure.
We watched it for Steve and Dave watch movies while you talk over movies while you listen or while you watch.
And by the way, they have a Taco Donna quencher. So
is that a taco?
As well as the Surly Sarlacc and Moof Juice. What?
Is that a taco? The Taco Donna, or is it just
no Taco Donna? Like the planet Taco Donna. I know. I always feel like that should be a woman that works in a Mexican restaurant.
Yeah. Taco Donna was one of my favorite people in the whole wide world.
She's wonderful.
She kept bringing me chips all day long.
Oh yeah, salsa.
Kept the cheese dip warm. It was wonderful.
Hey, Taco Donna, I need a refill.
Thank you. Taco Donna is the name of a place down in down in Smyrna, Georgia, where they,
Is Smyrna down from you? Are you that
I'm
far
sorry,
up?
no, Smyrna's over. I was trying to
I was
think of
gonna
a
say.
weird name down there in South Georgia. And,
Hey,
Taco
Hira.
Donna. Yeah, Taco Donna's over in Hey Hira, Georgia. Well, I didn't want to go too Ray Stevens on you, you know.
Oh, yeah, this is Ray Stevens.
He
Well,
always
that's
went to Hey
Valdosta
Hira.
practically. You could have just said Valdosta.
I could have said Odom, Georgia.
Vidalia.
Taco Donna's down in Odom. No, because it's got to be one of these side things that
Oh,
like, have no
like
light. Scriven, yeah, Scriven, Odom currency.
Scriven and Odom, and you know what the halfway point is between those two?
No.
The halfway point between Scriven and Odom?
It's on the back roads. What is the name of that little community? That little nothing happening community back there?
Scrotum.
We're now doing Georgia.
I thought it was like I thought there was like some Beaches Crossing or something like that. Beaches Crossing that you were like. I thought you were like trying to show off your South Georgia backroads knowledge.
All
mostly
right.
an interstate kid.
So I am going to let the train just go off the tracks. As we've seen already for 15 minutes, but I do want to just actually
listen. The train was gone when Scott started getting rid of that crap over there.
Wait a minute, train left way before that.
Whom chit.
Now there you go, Joe.
I was sneezing. That was yeah. So Steve, you're working on your March Madness. I'm excited for your March Madness this year on Geek Out Loud.
Yeah, what a mistake that was. It's like, hey, here's a great idea. Nope, it was not. It was not at all. 185 individual films were submitted. That and then there are many that have multiple submissions, and among those are some films I'd never heard of or some scores I wasn't familiar with. And so it's like, how do you even do this? How do you even begin to attack this thing? And so we're going to start on Geek Out Loud chiseling away at it, and with a couple of like qualifier rounds of tournaments to get into the big dance. And so
Did you use my list, or did you, because I didn't email it, did you disqualify it?
You know what? I don't know that you ever emailed it to me, so I did not look at my text to see.
No, I just got through saying I didn't email it to you.
Yeah. So
I sent it to you in text, but I didn't email it.
That's what I just said, Scott. I said you sent it to me in text.
No, but I said I didn't email it to you.
Right, and that's why I did not include it. I don't think, but I think there were movies that you had that got included.
Okay, I just thought of one too. That's why I was curious. So.
Well, the cutoff was midnight.
Oh, last night
at the time of recording. Yes, at the time of recording.
Oh,
yeah. But Scott has been instrumental in helping with that. He and Chaz both, because I asked questions like, do we include musicals in this? And they said yes. And so because I'm one to be contrary, I said, okay, great. And so
look, that is a huge list. We have been taking it easy here on the Rule of the Galaxy podcast the past few years, and we've just been doing characters, Star Wars characters. And believe it or not, in both years, Obi-Wan Kenobi has won the tournament both times. It's been different Final Fours, but Obi-Wan.
Well, Steve Sansweet should be tickled.
Yeah, yes, he should. But this year we are going to change, and we are going to make it much simpler. We're going to do ships and forms of transportation in Star Wars, and we're going to make a field of that to make our March Madness. So
I was going to say, if you really wanted to screw things up and dovetail onto Steve's, because his long coattails, you could do musical cues
in Star Wars. Yeah,
Star Wars cues.
Scott, I'll be honest with you. Most of yours are on the list already.
Oh, good.
And it might help me to actually squeeze some of these in there for some of the pre-qualifying rounds too. So I may.
I have another one, by the way.
I don't need it. Thank you.
It missed the cutoff,
but it's important. This one's important.
Well, just one, not another list, just another movie.
Yeah, just one movie.
What's the other movie?
Halloween.
Oh yeah, I've already got that too. Someone's already.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay. Thank goodness.
Yeah. So, thank God.
Scott, you mentioned Steve
really ugly.
You mentioned Steve Sansweet, and we were lucky enough to have him as a guest last week.
Yes.
And just do an hour of just me and Alfie asking him questions and letting him roll with stories. And I tell you what, that was fantastic. I felt like a kid in a candy store, just sitting there and going, I can't believe I'm talking to the guy who's been involved with all these different things. And, I mean, heck, I remember back to the QVC days, and I joked about that in the show.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like, oh, Steve's on QVC. Oh, I got to watch this, right? I gotta see what they're offering up. And I had actually bought something from him on one of the shows. So it was, not him
Really?
particularly, but from one of the shows he was, one of the shows he was hosting. So, but it was
QVC. Hey, can I talk to Steve?
Am I on air right now? Right.
Can I talk to Steve real quick?
You guys talk while I shut my dogs up because they're barking at somebody coming to the door.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you like I tell Shaz, you're gonna have to do something about that dog. So, Scott, are we now the host of Rule the Galaxy?
Well, it's kind of like in The Shining when he looks at Jack Nicholson and says, "Sir, you've always been the caretaker."
All right, yeah. So they'll have a picture of us from like the 1930s on the wall.
Yeah, we've always been the host of this show.
You mentioned that y'all mentioned the beer commercial thing that's been around. I've noticed a lot of chitter and chatter, both chitter and chatter.
Wow.
With people either talking about, for some reason, The Last Jedi has been coming up a lot. It seems like recently. And it's either people like, you should really revisit this, or people like, here are all the people that said it was great and now say it's terrible. Like just calling people out for their stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really I'm wondering why that's back in the zeitgeist right now.
Well, I think it has its cycle, and there are people in the fandom who want to do their thing to influence overall thought, and they think what they can do is every so often when the fire has laid low, they go out there and they throw boy, this was a great, because they want it to have aged well.
Right.
And so they'll every so often when they think it's clear, they'll throw out oh yes, it was great, we should revisit this, it's wonderful. And then the problem is the furor has never died down really. So when people hear that, it does trigger them and they immediately respond. So it's not time to put your head up and try to give that a historic reappraisal yet. It may never be time to give it a historic. I'll just say that I'm going to say it straight up, and you can take this how you will. It will never get Empire Strikes Back. Ever, ever, ever.
As far as The Empire Strikes Back is revered as this great thing and this wonderful second chapter.
Yes, but also in that, there was some initial disappointment in Empire Strikes Back, and there were some people who, it's, this is going too far and all that other stuff. And you've seen the thing where somebody had their own fan club and they folded it over the hated Empire Strikes Back. And
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Empire Strikes Back, I mean, it did not make, I mean, it made, huge money. It was a huge hit.
Sure.
But it didn't nearly make what the original Star Wars made.
Well, sure.
And so, there are some that would say there was an issue at the time with some fandom on that, and it's been reappraised to be about, the best by, I think, most people you'd ask in a survey. I don't like to choose. To me, they're all tied for 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But, that reappraisal, I don't think is going to ever, ever, ever redeem in a lot of people's minds Last Jedi the way Empire Strikes Back has been redeemed.
Well, I think part of the redemption of Empire has to do with what took place in Jedi as well, though.
Sure.
And so once the full story was out, you have that, because a lot of people will read into some of Vader's stuff in Empire what they learn in Jedi. They'll read conflict and that sort of thing into his actions based on what you see very clearly in Jedi.
Yeah.
And
although Jedi was denigrated at the time, if you recall.
Sure it was. Well, Jedi is still denigrated. People still like to bag on the Ewoks.
That's what I say, just for the Ewoks, though, right? I mean, was there anything else that really?
Well, Jabba's like a Muppet show. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right here.
Physical. Yeah. Yep, right there in his hand.
Right here. Sci-fi universe. 50 reasons why we hate Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
Right there. This was. Early in the day, I had this, and I have this article, and it is open to this. And you know why it's open to this and sitting like this? This thing came out in February 97, and it's been sitting like this ever since.
97?
Yeah.
So 14 years after the movie, that's their article?
Yeah.
Well, that's a little weird.
And this, And this is sitting like this because
97 was the special edition, so it was back out in everyone's mind.
It was about to come back out. February 97 is when it came back out, and obviously, magazines are cover dated a couple months ahead. So yeah, they were kind of preparing for that. But I literally, when this article came out, I read the article and had a rebuttal for all 50 points. And I know
that doesn't sound like you. That's really amazing.
It's really not. It's also not like me to hang on to it like I have done. And I had this idea at the time that I would create a web page. And it's kind of weird, but it would be a series of just kind of written text pieces that I would post from time to time on this one website that would have all of these text pieces.
So it'd be like a log of your thoughts on the web.
On the web, yes, exactly. And I came up to the point where I had designed how it looked, and I just didn't have the coding skills to make it happen. And now I think that happens fairly regularly nowadays.
Yeah, that's amazing.
I could have just signed up and done it that way. But I actually hand wrote a bunch of pieces that I was like, when I open this website, it's going to be populated with stuff.
All right. Well, the first thing is maybe you should have learned you can't handwrite things and they just get on the internet that way. That's just for future reference.
No, well, I hand wrote them because that's how I wrote.
You at least need a keyboard.
Yeah, that's how I wrote in the day. I hand wrote everything, and my goal was I was going to have enough pieces to populate this thing so that when it opened, it didn't just open with one piece.
Right. Get your hands on the home keys.
Yeah.
A.
Oh yeah.
D.
Semi.
I did it when I was in 7th grade. I took my typing.
You guys bring up these people who like to stick their head out and just like poke the bear, right, and push the envelope.
Hey, what's up? Whoop.
Yep. Whoop. I'm gonna throw that here. Here's a hand grenade. See you later. Yep. I mean, I think there are just some people that's what they thrive off of. I mean, 100% they thrive off of instigating. They thrive off feeding people's anger and hatred and all that kind of stuff. When, look, The Last Jedi is not particularly one of my favorite things at all, but I'm not going to sit here and waste all my time bashing it out with somebody who loves it. If you love it, go love it. Fine, whatever.
Yes,
I will. Listen, inside of me, there lives a provocateur that is just dying to get out.
Yes.
He's not really dying to get out. He's out, Steve.
Like there's a part of me that loves throwing the hand grenade and just watching the chaos ensue. Like I've got a little joker in me. I just an agent of chaos sometimes.
You call that unleashing your inner 3-year Letterman.
That's yeah. So that's but no, I it's just been kind of weird to see that kind of in the ether here lately. Some people just having Last Jedi discussions for some reason.
It's a thing they do. They throw it out there. And again, I think a lot of it is they're trying to create a narrative, and you do that by repeating a lie often enough.
Gosh, yeah.
And they feel like if it gets said enough, then people will just start buying into it. And the problem is you don't say it persuasively. It's not really going to be bought into. So
do you think it has something to do with now that we know that they're working on a Rey movie after this, that they're trying to build up some structure for people to build off of into that movie? Because
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. It may be. I also, just to come off that Rey thing real quick, I saw where Patty Jenkins is saying she's back on a Rogue Squadron movie.
Yes, she has.
I did see that.
Yes.
So
yeah, she said now that Wonder Woman 3 has fallen completely apart, she's now going to turn her sights on making Rogue Squadron fall completely apart. So I'm excited about that.
So we're to believe that it was her decision to walk away and go do Wonder Woman due to contractual obligations, or
that's the way it was kind of conveyed at first. Yeah, that's the way it was always kind of conveyed, was that she was obligated to do Wonder Woman 3, and that schedules were conflicting and nobody would move their schedule. I don't know that I buy all that,
right?
But I think what you're seeing, this is just my take on this, and I think I've shared some of this before. I think what you're seeing is Bob Iger has realized that Disney Plus is not going to generate them significant revenue just by virtue of their spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to put original programming on Disney Plus. You take all of those shows off of there, and it's still going to generate about the same revenue and without all the expenditures. And the reality is that they need to be making things to put in theaters, because that makes money. That actually brings dollars in. And I was talking, I may have been the last time we were on, since 2020, I think Marvel movies at the box office now, Marvel Studios has generated about $7 billion at this point. And in that same time frame, Lucasfilm has generated about 320 million in box office.
Yowza.
And they both made about the same number of TV shows. So it's not that Lucas is, well, we're focusing on TV right now, and that's that. Because Marvel's been doing TV shows too, but Lucasfilm's just not generating revenue for them right now. And I think that's get as much into theaters as you can. That's why they brought back physical media. It's like physical media actually sells us copies and makes us money. Disney Plus doesn't really do that.
Are you saying $7 billion at the box office in the past 4 years for Marvel Studios?
Yeah.
So I don't know that can't be right.
I mean, if you count Spider-Man and they get a chunk of that,
right?
That was $1 billion alone,
right? But then then look what else has been in.
Then you got Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did well.
Yeah,
that not almost $1 billion.
But some of these have just been dog meat. Some of them have been.
I don't know that Doctor Strange did well. I know the Marvels.
Doctor Strange did probably $1 billion. Doctor Strange did, I know, over 400 domestic. Yeah,
it must be overseas because
No, Doctor Strange did over 400 domestic. That's what I'm saying.
He's pulling up the numbers. He's getting us the numbers.
I'm pulling it up right now.
But so going back to the
I didn't realize that 955 million worldwide. Wow,
that's what I'm telling you. Doctor Strange was a huge hit, and it was over 400 in America.
We were all riding that Endgame high still, trying to get back to
but
some of that love.
I'm going to go back to the Rey and the Rogue Squadron mentions because you've got Patty saying the contractual things kept Rogue Squadron from being the top priority. But now with the Rey movie, the guy who's supposed to write that movie is writing the Peaky Blinders movie or getting that ready, right? And so now that's on delay, or that's pushed back behind Peaky Blinders. So is Star Wars now the second fiddle to Wonder Woman and Peaky Blinders? I mean, shouldn't those be, if someone offers you Star Wars to be a director or writer of, wouldn't you think that come to the forefront? Or am I just an old 50-year-old man yelling at the clouds and telling kids to get off my lawn?
Why not both?
Well, yeah, why not both? Well, I saw something someone posted in some Facebook group just either late last night or early this morning, or both, where they were trying to make some defense of the sequel trilogy, which is fine, but it's like, if you have to go out and just post something because you're wanting to defend something that no one is sitting there, like here, absolutely nobody. And this dude, hey, here's this, and it's a Golaverse listener, so I don't want to call him out, but it was basically an article about how much money all the Star Wars movies have made, and what it cost to make them, and then what their box office was. And the thing that's not taken into account is here is the budget, but oftentimes what they don't tell you in those budgets, that's the production budget. There's also the advertising and stuff that ends up going along with it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that I think it's a very, it's a very simple look at things, but at the same time, what you see is a significant drop off from The Force Awakens to The Last Jedi to Rise of Skywalker. And I think the drop off for Jedi to Rise of Skywalker really is on The Last Jedi, because people saw that and said, I don't really want to go back and see any more of this.
Well, but they didn't have a need to. This is a high horse. Thank you for jumping me on this high horse here. Mm-hmm. There is no cliffhanger.
Right.
It literally just ends, and at the end, they're sitting around looking at each other. Hey, how you doing? Oh, it's good to see. Oh, it's good to meet you. We've been in 2 movies together so far, and we just now met. Right. And then it ends, and it's over. And you compare that to Infinity War versus into Endgame. And you left Infinity War, you went, holy cow, what's going to happen? I can't understand. I can't believe. Even if you go Force Awakens to Last Jedi, Luke's standing there with the tears in his eyes, and Rey's there with a desperate look on her face, and he takes the lightsaber and he looks at it, and it's like he's looking and going, do you know what this means? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you find out it means, throw it away. Mm-hmm. But, which again, the second you start telling people we don't really want you to come back for the next movie is to set up something like that, give them 2 years of anticipation, and then crush the anticipation like that. But
every amount of anticipation. I heard,
it's all gone.
Not to mention other podcasts, but I heard Rebel Force Radio last week, and they did a flashback to talking about Ray's last name. Now, did yours truly have a little bit of a cameo there? I sure did. But remember, that was stuff we were doing before the movie ever came out, because they'd released the names, on like the trading card situations and all. But even once the movie was over, it's like, okay, well, here are the mysteries, here are the questions we have. And there was speculation, but speculation does not mean I'm married to this idea. It just means here's what I think this could mean, and this is kind of my theory. And if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't pan out. But when you just squash everything, it's like, don't matter, don't matter, don't matter, don't matter, done. It was just kind of like you're right, Scott. It's like, why go see The Rise of Skywalker now? Because Skywalker's dead.
Yeah, Skywalker's dead. We know Rey is nobody. The lightsaber didn't matter. Everybody's okay, so whatever. And there was no meat left on the bone at the end of that film to seed the next film.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge reason why Rise of Skywalker underperformed. And it's a huge reason why Rise of Skywalker was so problematic in its story. It was because we've got to put together a final act for a trilogy that's not really a trilogy.
Yeah. Yep. It's the same reason Superman 4 failed, because Superman 3 just was not good.
And because
it was well received, and so people didn't want to go see it. Well, yeah, but I don't think the average moviegoer knew that. I think that a lot of people saw Superman 3, and like the Salkins like to say, Superman 3 didn't kill the franchise, Superman 4 did. But it's like, had Superman 3 been better, Superman 4 might have made a little more money, but
Steve, I listened to one of your shows recently, and you had a nice discussion about all the Superman movies, and it had been a while since I'd watched any of them. And I went to my wife. I said, "Hey, we have these all. They're on streaming. You can go see any of them you want right now." I was like, "When was the last time you saw Superman?" She said, "When it first came out, way back then." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, let's sit down and let's watch Superman." We got about halfway through. She looked at me. She goes, "Yeah, no, I'm not into this. We're not finishing this." And I was like, "This is great. This is Superman." She's like, "Yeah, no, I'm done." So
but see, halfway through is when Superman finally shows up.
I know. She got bored right when he was Clark, and when he he started to do. She was like, "Nah, I've seen enough backstory. I'm kind of
Listen, by today's standards of movie storytelling, it's a slow movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing how much they'll pack into a 3-hour movie that is not necessarily storytelling. It's just it's the end battle. It's the, but Superman, the movie, I love it. I love every bit of it. There's nothing that I don't like, but it, you have to admit it moves a little slow, because it is 45 minutes or more before you see Christopher Reeve.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And to me, I hang on every bit of what's before. You asked when the last time we saw it was. You know when the last time I saw it? COVID.
No. Yeah.
The movie theater was doing, you could book a private show. You could get 20 people max together, and if you pay $100, you could book the show. So I was assembling nerd strike teams.
I would have loved, and I wanted so badly to be able to make it down to watch Superman on the bit.
And we did it, and we had we had 20 people, and I collected, I paid it up front, and then just collected $5 from everybody as they showed up. And we had a great time, and I don't think anybody was bored or turned off. Of course, we were all old.
Yeah.
And we all knew the beats of the story, but I take that back. I say we're all old. G-Man was there, but G-Man is, how that is.
I'm Garrison Ryfun. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew that was coming. He is an
Garrison
old
Ryfun.
Yeah.
He is, you know who his favorite movie star is?
Billy D.
Cary Grant.
Really? Garrison Ryfun.
I'm Garrison Ryfun.
Hey, I want to throw another movie genre by you, or whatever, another fandom. Have you guys seen the first or the second Dune that's come out recently?
Saw the first at the theater, and when I realized my wife didn't go with us, and I could have sworn she did, I could have sworn that was the woman I was sitting next to, which now makes me wonder about the reaching out and holding her hand and stuff like that. I don't really know who that was, but she said she hadn't seen it, so we watched it again the other night. So I've seen the first one a couple of times. I've not seen part 2 yet, but we saw that so that we could, time permitting, go see that one.
You will have to see it twice again because you'll go with another lady the first time.
Yeah, I have no idea who she is. Yeah,
Steve,
talking about movies where nothing happens.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I did. We watched the first one because remember that was also back during the waning days of the old pandemic or whatever, and so they released it to Max, simultaneously. So we just watched it at home, and I was just like, I don't know. Of course, Dune has never been my thing. We did the book for the Geek Out Loud book club a long time ago, and it just didn't really capture me very much. So it's not my bag. But I know people love it, and it was beautifully shot. Like
yes.
There's a lot of great things to say about it, except the story just is not enough to get me back to see number 2.
I went and saw number 2. So a couple friends of mine, very big moviegoers, they like to. Heck, they'd want me to go to the movies once a week with them if I could. And it's just, I like movies, but it's got to be the right ones. I'm not going to go spend 2 or 3 hours of my time when I'm not really sure if I want to see the movie. But I went and saw the first Dune with them. I got done with that movie and I said, I don't know that I want to go back and see the second one. And so the second one, of course, now recently came out. They kept pushing and saying, guys, this one's better than the first one. It's better than the first one. So if you we're kind of unsure, go see the second one. I can tell you, it didn't do much for me.
Wow.
It's again, beautifully shot. Like the scenery and the things in it, it's beautiful, but the story just doesn't do something for me. Maybe it's because I'm a jaded Star Wars fan and I look at things through that lens.
Well, they rip off so much stuff in Dune from Star Wars. I mean, spice.
Easy.
You got
I thought it was the opposite way.
Sandworm thing that's in the desert, like the skeleton. And
Scott, you're gonna listen.
Desert planet.
Look, what you're doing right now is you're leaving Joey a mess to have to clean up. You get to walk away from this, but Marinara is going to have to clean up the mess you're making right now.
Now, see, you pronounced his name like it was very Italian there when I was saying marinara. I don't know that that's you violated your premise there.
I'm sorry, marinara. Molinaro. The thing is I just saw again. It's one of those posts I just ran across randomly where someone's like, Frank Herbert has this list of things that he says George Lucas ripped off from him. I'm like, I think George Lucas has always been pretty open about he was inspired a little bit by Dune.
Yeah, but also in all honesty, read Dune or watch Dune, and then watch Hidden Fortress, and see George Lucas owes a lot more to Kurosawa than he does to Frank Herbert.
Yeah,
even though yes, there were some inspiration and some nods here and there. It really. Kurosawa and the Hidden Fortress, much more of an influence on Star Wars than Dune. Much more. Sorry.
And the thing I think the thing that stands out to me in Dune is that I want to have somebody to root for. I want to have a hero. And I know
you need a hero.
I know Paul whatever is supposedly the hero of the show, but he doesn't give off the vibe of a hero. He almost gives off the vibe of an anti-hero.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Apparently, according to my good friend Dave Jones, who is a huge Dune fan and kind of let me know what would happen down the road, apparently the dude does become the bad guy. Like he becomes everything he swore to or that he hated, because as we were once told by the great Harvey Dent, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Which is a great take on the heroism. Fantastic way to look at being the good guy, Harvey.
Well, you brought up Harvey Dent and goes right back to Billy D. He talks a lot about how he was Harvey Dent in the first movie and he had wanted to be Harvey Dent when it became Two-Face and he didn't get that opportunity. And it just went right past me. I didn't even think about it way back then. And he talked about how important it was for him to play that role the way he wanted it to be played, that cool savoir-faire, leader who then becomes the enemy and didn't get a chance to. He did say that he got to played Two-Face, Harvey Dent in the Lego movie, the Batman Lego movie. So he was happy about that. But he said it's one of those things that he missed. He missed getting that opportunity. He really wanted to take that and do that. So
not to mention the paycheck.
Yeah, in '89 when I saw Batman, I was a kid and I was a Marvel kid, strictly Marvel kid, and the Batman I knew from the old
Adam West,
Adam West show. So when D.A. Harvey Dent shows up as Billy D, I'm like, there's Billy D. I never knew about Two-Face at that point, and so looking back and realizing, once I got into fuller broad range of comics, I'm like, Harvey Dent is Two-Face. Billy D could have been Two-Face. Like I'm mourning what could have been.
Yeah.
Instead of the Tommy Lee Jones just trying to keep up with Jim Carrey, his over the top stuff, and
that was Tommy Lee Unchained, Tommy Lee Jones, because he had just done, he'd gotten his Oscar for the Fugitive before that, and so he was big bucks and big box office, and just kind of unchained, and I think he felt free to do whatever he wanted, and that was what he wanted to do.
He did.
He was over the top. He and Jim Carrey. But I mean, let's face it, almost everything Jim Carrey does is.
That was also the golden era of Jim Carrey too. You're talking about Dumb and Dumber, Ace Ventura, The Mask, Riddler. I like Jim Carrey as the Riddler. I was not opposed to that. He just kind of kicked the Frank Gorshin Riddler up a notch. But
it's I'll say this, at the risk of leaving Joe even more to deal with after we're gone. That particular movie is, to me, the best of that cycle.
That one?
Yep.
Listen, you put that and Batman Returns up next to I'm picking Batman Forever every
time.
Yeah, Batman Returns was bad. I didn't. Yeah,
and the first one's overrated and overblown. Yes, I said it. I'll say it again because nobody else is going to. First one was overrated and overblown.
But for the time, I think the thing is for the time, it was a superhero movie like we really hadn't really had at that point, And
I appreciate the effort.
Sorry,
but I just remember walking out of it going, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe that movie."
Oh man, I walked out of it thinking that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Well, you were what are you? 6 years, 7 years, 6.5 years younger than
12. Yeah, I was 12.
Yeah, I was 18 and jaded, and I walked out going, boy, I'll tell you what, Jack Nicholson just raped somebody for that money he made off this movie, because he was lazy. He was just sluggish.
Do you think so?
I absolutely. I think that is. I think that's one of the
for you.
I think it's one of the dullest performances I've ever seen him give. I thought he was phoning it in. I thought Michael Keaton was a decent Bruce Wayne, but once he was Batman, he was Captain Stiffneck, and I couldn't. There's the great shot of he's in the church or whatever it is, and Joker's above him with Kim Basinger, and he has to look up, and he literally has to rotate his entire torso up.
Right.
It's like,
how
am I supposed to believe that guy's beating the crap out of people when he can't even look up?
Well, that was the fault of the suit.
Yes.
Keaton.
Well, I don't blame Michael Keaton, but it's just like when I watch it, I can't buy it.
I went home and I've got a stack of papers over here where I hand wrote out what I would print if I did a magazine. 50 reasons I hate Batman.
It's in my storage.
You're that guy. Well, I love how these things linear right here kind of all tie together, but the Val Kilmer documentary that he did, or the
really good,
it was fantastic. But he brings up his Batman role, and he said they just wanted the body in the suit. They really didn't care. I mean, it was more like just, him, Clooney, Keaton. It didn't matter. Just put a body in there. He said you couldn't move, you couldn't do anything, couldn't see anything, you couldn't turn. So he said it was very different than what he expected that to be. So,
and I think that's one of the things about Batman Begins that works so well when he goes to see Morgan Freeman, and he's like, can we do this?
Dark Knight,
and he's like, you want to be able to turn your head, and it's like
Dark Knight. He says that,
No, Dark Knight, yeah. So it's they work those things out logistically, and obviously they've done it in the wardrobe department and everything too. I would put more of the blame at Tim Burton's feet for that kind of stuff than Michael Keaton.
Oh, I'm not blaming Michael Keaton. That's what I say. He was fine as Batman, but once you put him in the suit, I mean, fine as Bruce Wayne, but once you put him in the suit, you can't. there's nothing there because he can't do anything.
Right. He showed you in the Flash movie here this past year.
He was not bad in the Flash. I don't think the Flash movie was that bad.
I thought most of it was good until we got into that repetitive over and over again multiverse, whatever. When they started to be like, well, if you do this, we got to come back. We got to do this, and it just over and over.
You mean when they showed cartoon George Reeves and cartoon Christopher Reeve and cartoon everything else?
Nicolas Cage. They had Nicolas Cage in there.
Oh, I loved it though because he was fighting a giant spider.
That's right.
That was perfect.
Right. Yeah, it's what everyone always wanted to see, man.
Nobody wanted to see except John Peters. But
well, I just mean like that moment was trying to do such fan service more than really make worlds collide, and it was just, I don't know, it just weird. I wasn't the biggest fan of the overall ending situation of the Flash. Like, well, he's got to die. He's Bruce Wayne, and we want to put 89 to rest completely, and then George Clooney showing up at the end was kind of a cool thing. But it's like it doesn't matter because it's going nowhere.
Well, that's true, and that's probably a large part of the failure of the movie is everybody knew it meant nothing. But I'll tell you what I liked about George Clooney showing up at the end. Spoiler alert. Is that I got really bothered towards the end when the whole movie has been don't mess with time, and then right at the end he makes one more after he's learned his lesson. He tweaks time one more time to save his dad, and I felt like, well, if he gets away with that, we've just destroyed the entire premise of the film,
right?
And then when Bruce shows up and it's not his Bruce, he has pretty much wrecked the any chance of being buddies with his Bruce again.
Right.
It's George Clooney Bruce. And I thought, well, that's good because he had consequences.
Yeah.
So I actually liked that, not just from the stunt casting, but also from a storytelling perspective.
Well, the only thing I didn't like about it is the potential to see old man Batman, George Clooney as older man Batman, and to have that what could have been if you were able to go on, further into the thing.
Yeah.
But it's that whole run of DC movies from Man of Steel forward is just a story arc of how something starts so earnestly and just ends as a joke. Like it really is kind of a sad thing. It's almost as sad as what was done to Star Wars. But
it's pretty sad. And again, Superman, what was it? Man of Steel.
Yeah, Man of Steel.
Not a good movie.
No,
sorry. But the attempt was there.
The thing is, the casting for most of that era of DC movies was so great.
Yeah,
most of the casting was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, Gal is Wonder Woman.
I was going to say the one movie I really liked out of that segment was the first Wonder Woman movie.
Yes, first Wonder Woman was fantastic.
I liked it until she started fighting, Professor Lupin. At the end, then it went to a Zack Snyder kind of big battle kind of thing. But I agree. I thought it was great, and there were nice little nods to other classic movies. The whole alley mugging thing, is a nod straight back to Superman the movie, and so I appreciated that. That's why, when you talk about Patty Jenkins doing a Rogue Squadron film, like she's the one person that actually seems like, hey, I'm a fan of Star Wars. I'm a fan of flying, so I'm really anxious to do this. Like her little sizzle thing that she did, introducing, walking out in the. Like, I get the sense that she's kind of a fan. There's been a lot of these Star Wars writers who weren't necessarily fans, of some of this stuff.
And their goal has been to remake it in their own taste.
Right. And that's kind of
Taika is one of those guys where, I mean, I guess he calls himself a fan, but I don't see where the genre mixes well with him. Like, I don't think Taika Waititi, right? Is that how it says?
Yeah.
Well, depends on where you're from.
Waititi.
Yeah, I just don't feel like that would have been a good mix. You're right. I think having more fans, more people who grew up with it, it's a part of the reason they became a director or producer or whatever. That's the kind of people I want to see doing it. So I'm not against making more Star Wars films. As a matter of fact, that's what I want. I want to be in the theater watching Star Wars. but I would like it to be people who actually love the franchise and want to expand on it and not tear it apart.
Well, you've got to be careful, because if you have someone that's a fan that holds it a little too preciously,
Yep.
they end up doing too much of what Abrams did with Force Awakens and just kind of retreading everything. But if you have someone that's a fan and understands it and is willing to tell the story, then they can be respectful of, the way we want to see someone be
Right.
respectful of the material and tell some interesting things. I think that's the interesting thing about George Lucas. As much as Star Wars was obviously his baby and, his storytelling, he was never so precious about it that he felt trapped in one thing. That's why the prequels are what the prequels are. Because they're not what anyone that had any ideas about Star Wars would have told. They would have had Anakin pulling the legs off of lizards as a little boy and,
I
being cruel and mean and leading up to that. But he
I
knew
don't I don't know. I don't know that they would have had him pulling legs off of lizards as a little boy so much as they would have just, by Revenge of the Sith, they would have found a way to redeem him and go, "Oh, we've saved him, and now the other ones don't even have to happen."
Right.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's you had to make him, he had to be heroic and struggling with the dark to give into it,
Yep.
and we do see that from the time he's a little boy, the looks he gives here and there when he's standing there in the Jedi Council chambers.
mm-hmm.
Jake Lloyd did a great job in that moment when he says, "No, he will not be trained." And they cut to him and he's just giving a death stare to Mace. And I'm like,
Mhm.
your days are numbered. You're in for it, pal.
Speaking
And,
of Jake Lloyd,
Yeah.
how about Clayton Sandel's piece this week?
great piece.
Yeah.
And man, his mom going a long way to just kind of bear some hard truths about what the kid's been through. And it's not it's nice to have some things that were out there kind of like, hey, look, he does like Star Wars. He loved the Ahsoka series. Um, he's not bitter about Star Wars. A lot of the crap that people said about Star Wars, I kept him from, so he wouldn't see those things
Yep.
as a kid. And there might have been some kids pick on him every now and again about what it had, him being Anakin in Star Wars, but it was never a big issue. And so
Yeah.
it's just nice to know that, some of the narrative that'd been out there
Right.
to have her put to rest. But man, what a hard road to hoe he's had.
Yeah. And you really feel for him, but yeah, you're right. And it's funny to me because you were talking earlier about the Last Jedi stuff zooming up, and for some reason, it seems to be a lot of the people who try to plant the Last Jedi bomb and walk off are often the same people that blame the fans for having caused all of the problems that Jake Lloyd has had. I think people have a tendency to, when they see something and they don't know everything about it, they tend to fill in the blanks from what's in their head and what they want to be true. And so, they make it so that all these monster fans basically ran Jake Lloyd off the rails. Not at all what happened. And again, I'm proud of his mom for going out there and just talking about it because, this age where mental health is such a crisis, it's good to see a mom who's been through it, who's been through some of the worst of it,
Right.
actually speaking out and putting to rest a lot of the rumors that have been out there. And good on Clayton, because I don't know that Clayton really thought that was the answer he was going to get, but he got it and he made it part of the story.
Yeah. Well, in such, like you say, good on her, because she shows what it's like to really fight mental illness and to fight for the ones you love, like to go to the ends of the earth to try to get them the help they need, and to make sure that you're advocating for them rather than just let them continue in a spiral of self-destruction. And she obviously there was time in there where that kind of happened because he did push her away, but to finally get him the help and stuff he needs, it sounds like he's kind of getting into a good place, and that's good.
We just spoke about this the other day on the show. We've loved to see the Ahmad Best and the Hayden Christensen love fests that have gone on recently in the past few years with being brought back to celebrations, with being in front of the fans. Not saying that we'd ever need to see Jake Lloyd in another Star Wars production in any way, shape, or form, because obviously things changed and Hayden became the older Anakin. But we all agreed that having Jake Lloyd come up into some large thing like a celebration and just hear the fans, salute him, right? Just hearing the fans, give him the accolades of, hey, you're part of us, right? And I think Ryan McGee said it. There's healing power in feeling those people cheer for you, clap for you. He doesn't even have to do a Q&A. Just really sit there and feel the love from the fandom. And I think looking at it and the Ron Howard letter that went out and all that kind of stuff, I don't think the fandom was at such a fervor that there were the death threats and everything like that we have today with Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. But it was a lot more of the media, right? I mean, the media at that time was completely
They rolled Jar Jar. They rolled Anakin.
Yeah.
And then blamed it on the fans when, I know Steve was there and I know I was there. And we were backing those guys all the way.
Yep. For sure.
And yes, there were some negative people in fandom, but by and large, I think most of us appreciated what we got when the Phantom Menace came out.
Oh, sure. I really enjoyed it. And I was surprised. Like, to me, this is the subversion of expectation. I was surprised of the sweet kid that was Anakin Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He played it like a kid. He wasn't he was already a great pilot and all that good stuff, but he didn't know everything. He had naivete about him, and there was a vulnerability to him, and you see the damage that's done that leads into his obsession with Padme by the time you get to Attack of the Clones, leading on into Revenge of the Sith. But I also my biggest thing was, it's like I would have liked to see a little bit more time between either Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, or Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, as far as the storyline goes, to put a little bit of more age on Anakin and Obi-Wan both, because when you follow through, Vader in A New Hope is in his 40s.
Yeah.
And, late 40s, but still, right? Am I right? Yeah, he'd be he'd be in his mid 40s. So younger than Vader in A New Hope is younger than me. If you follow the timeline of Star Wars.
But he's more machine than man by that time.
He is more machine now than man, twisted and evil. And and it's just like, wow. Well, so ridden hard, put up wet is old Vader, apparently, when you see him in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, and I think you also give the galaxy time to really develop an amnesia for the Jedi.
Right.
Because you've got Revenge of the Sith, the Jedi are dead, and then it's 19 years later, and nobody knows what a Jedi is really.
Right. Well, and the problem is 5 years, 10 years before, you still have Inquisitors going even to the outskirts of the galaxy, like Tatooine, hunting Jedi, and so it's just this thing that it's like. Of course, I don't know, Scott. Is it ever confirmed? Let's just take what's on the film, and you guys might be. Is it ever confirmed that like people just don't remember what Jedi are, or they're just extinct?
No, but it's not. Yeah, it's not that they don't know what they are, but like hokey religions and ancient weapons.
Right.
When you say ancient, you don't really think of 19 years ago as ancient.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's true.
But no, it's not said we don't know what Jedi are. But the Jedi are extinct. Their fire has gone out in the universe.
You, my friend, are all that's left. You, my friend, are all that's left of that religion.
You, my friend, are all that's left of your religion.
And now, Your Highness will discuss the location of your secret rebel base.
Now, that would have been I would have taken that voiceover.
Oh, yeah. But
living in the bowels of the Death Star, the mighty Dianoga.
You mentioned time to grow and things like that. I think one of the things that stands out about the prequels and even the original trilogy is we always talk about that time to breathe between movies. They weren't the next day, those kind of things. But also, Anakin was able to have reflexes and could see some things, but he didn't have the skills, the talents, even though he had the the highest midichlorian count, even higher than Yoda. But it took him until he went and got trained, and he went to the the Jedi Temple and all those kind of things, to where he finally became that ultra powerful thing. Unlike and Luke, we can say it was just shortened, time frame. But from Star Wars to Jedi was what, 5 to 6 years, right?
Yeah, it's like 3 years and then 1 year, so like 4 years. Yeah.
4+ years. Is that enough time for him to, in all the EU stuff that we saw and knew and grew up with and all that kind of stuff, in the books and whatever, is that enough time for him to grow from where he just barely knew how to swing a lightsaber without getting hit by the testing droid, right, to being the guy who can go battle against the Emperor and Vader at the same time? But then we go to the sequel trilogy, and that's where I think it gets to where we go, wait a minute, yesterday you didn't know this. Today you know everything, and you're better than most people could ever think you would ever be. So I think that growth was there and was needed. Obviously, they probably didn't think at the beginning, hey, Luke's going to be from here to here by the time we get from Star Wars to Jedi, but at least it was a time frame. You saw the growth in that. I don't know if you're.
It's a little quick though.
Okay.
I forget. I saw somewhere, and I can't remember what material it was, but somebody had written that Yoda basically like opened up his mind or something to, have him take that in much quicker, which then would lead to the question of why didn't they just do that at the Jedi Academy?
I also think that you're dealing with a time frame in Empire where it's like, how long was Luke on Dagobah?
True. Yeah, he's there for a long time. Yeah,
and so you've got to remember the Millennium Falcon is traveling without light speed to these places.
Yep.
So
they're probably several million years.
Well, I'm just saying in the course of like Star Wars time, I feel like the Star Wars galaxy is more of a solar system than a galaxy. I feel like it's like a gigantic. When you can stand on one planet and see another system blown up, in the daylight, if you go to Force Awakens. But anyhow, so I think there was a lot of time that Luke spent with Yoda. The problem is it's like you can't show that, and you've got to tell the story. You've got to move the story forward. Mm-hmm. You don't want to see them sitting for weeks in the Millennium Falcon being like, hey, the water's about to run out in the refresher, so let's limit our shower time, that kind of thing. You can't do that kind of stuff. You've got to move that story forward. But also, when we meet Luke in Empire, obviously he's on Hoth. Remember what had already come before. You mentioned the lightsaber and the training thing and everything. Obi-Wan was working with someone who was just, was talented in the Force already, who believed in it, and because of his eagerness to embrace it, was more open to those teachings. Mm-hmm. So that when he hears Obi-Wan in his head as he's in the trench, he's able to make the shot. So when he's there hanging upside down in the Wampa Cave, he knows, calm your mind, even in this situation, let the Force flow through you. You mean it obeys your commands partially, but it, or it controls your actions partially, but it also obeys your commands. Mm-hmm. So Luke, hanging upside down, closes his eyes, he stills himself as best he can, reaches out, and the lightsaber comes to his hand. Now, it's not a quick thing, obviously there's a little bit of movement, but he said, I could see the remote. I could almost see the remote. I could feel the Force. So you get the sense that he's been toying around with this and practicing and trying for a little bit. And so by the time he meets Yoda, he has to unlearn some things he's learned, but he's gotten to where he knows the basics of letting the Force flow. And so so Yoda's then able to work with him on a whole other level. Now, he's not perfect. He can't lift that spaceship up right out of the gate, but I guarantee you who could have if they'd have put that in her way. Ray would have been able to do that with no problem.
That's true. Well, let's say Luke has been toying around with that between the first film and the second film. We know this because at one point he reached out mentally with the Force and accidentally touched Vader's mind, which caused him to shut down, and they had to take him to the wheel. So I brought it back around there. See,
wow!
I didn't know if you were going to go old Marvel Star Wars or new Marvel Star Wars.
No, they had to take him to the wheel, and that's where they were trying to revive him at the wheel.
And the wheel in the sky keeps on turning.
We'll
take Luke there now tomorrow.
Our former co-host, who I wish he'd hop back on from time to time, Nick Shesky, who devours every book everywhere, but he used to say that just like the movie Interstellar, that there's time slippage on some Star Wars planets as well. So while it might be a day sitting out on that asteroid, it might be 3 or 4 days on Dagobah, right?
Mm.
You know, I mean, how the age and the timing and everything like that goes on. So we
I
used
think
to.
my thing is, I think when you start thinking too much about some of that stuff, like,
Oh, believe me, we were like, okay, Nick, it's too deep, but yeah.
you know, it really gets kind of weird, you know, like I feel like you start to get away from what Star Wars is really about when you get too much into some of that stuff. Well, you know, parsec's a measure of distance, not a measure of time. Okay.
Yeah, and then they bend over backwards to make that work, and it's
Right.
like,
It's like, just
can we
let it
just
be time in a
tell a
galaxy far,
story?
far away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about telling a story about good guys and bad guys.
Yep.
Let's do
Agreed.
that instead of trying to figure out where in the Falcon do they sleep and where's the hallway come out to the cargo area. It's just like just let it be. Just let
Yeah.
it be.
I just want. I just need to know where the cape room is. The cape
Yeah.
closet room.
That's true.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad we were told that. Like, every little detail needs to be explained for sure. For sure.
Hey,
Well, look, when Rey does her thing in The Force Awakens, you know, I said I didn't have a problem with it. And then I saw other people having a problem with it, but like I had other issues with that I couldn't put my finger on with that movie that I couldn't put my finger on, and I still don't know that I can. There was just something that was off a little bit. It was like it's like when it's like when you're kind of in a dream and you know everything's not quite right, but you keep going along with it anyway, you know, and that's kind of what Force Awakens was for me. And it took me a while to kind of come around to what was going on.
So in other words, you were there with no pants on.
That might have been the problem.
And he was sitting next to your wife, Scott.
I was Winnie the Pooh in it. I was Donald Ducking it there in the Alamo Draft House. Just shirt, no pants. But no, the whole thing was, it's like then I started hearing people talk about how she's overpowered. I'm like, you know, they really made a big deal of how special the lightsaber is. And so when she ends up with a lightsaber at the end, I'm like, okay, so the lightsaber went to her because obviously she's special, but the lightsaber somehow knows that. I was having a problem with that, but that's kind of was my take on it. And we'd seen her do some staff work, you know, some work, you know, fighting off some people with her staff. And I said, so is it that much of a thing to think that she can't hold off Kylo for a few minutes? She wasn't winning that battle necessarily.
No,
she got a shot in, you know, and put the scar on his face and everything. But it did, like, it wouldn't have taken him long to take the upper hand had the planet not been falling apart, you know, and then Chewie showing up. So I don't know. Like, I think where she gets overpowered is in the very next film, you know, where she's doing some crazy things. And so I don't know.
I don't know. So
she got the Millennium Falcon out of the snowbank there by lifting it with the Force, I guess is what happened. And didn't even know she'd done it. That's how powerful she is.
What? Is that the case?
Is that really how?
No, not at all.
I was going to say no.
Got it up and running, yeah.
So have either one of you guys purchased anything recently that you're like excited about or anything? I know, Scott, before we hopped on, you were showing us a nice new guitar there. Any new Star Wars things?
I'm a guitar
items?
And my new line of Scott Ryfun picks.
You have guitar picks with Scott Ryfun on them?
Yes, I do.
Well, I kind of want one of
What
those.
is the logo on the front? The Ryfun Army?
Yes.
Nice. Instead of Kiss
Love
Army.
Love it.
I did, but I'll tell you this. You know, Hasbro introduced that Micro Galaxy Squadron, and I told myself, I said when they came out in stores, I really like those, but I am staying very far away from them because I know that there will be a lot of them, and I want to have all of them, and there's really nothing that I can do with them or anywhere I can put them. But I think they're terrific. And then Hasbro did this really awful. I think it's kind of an unethical thing that they did, and that is they let some people sell them really cheap. And so I have been stocking up on a few of them. This is the one I got recently at Ross.
Oh, okay. These are the ones that are kind of like the old Action Fleet from the 90s.
Yeah. They're great little vehicles. And they're well done, good detail. This is the Grand Army of the Republic. battle pack, and it's got the was that an ARC 170 or no? That's not an ARC 170.
I thought that was a gunship, wasn't it?
Yeah, the gunship. Yeah, it's a Republic gunship. Sorry, the ARC 170 is the X-wing looking thing.
Yeah,
and it's the gunship. It's got a speeder bike with it. It's got a lot of clone troopers.
Wow. Nice.
It's just got all kinds of stuff in it. It's 8+ pieces, and really, really gorgeous. I love and I got the basically the new version of the Imperial troop transport that they made too.
I haven't bought anything in a long time. A long time. I've had to cut out the collecting for a little bit, and there hasn't been much that I've seen they've come out with that I really want outside of some of the vintage collection stuff because of the cards, the card backs. They've got that Return of the Jedi Vader that came out that I was really hoping to get, but I never scored. There was a couple of other things, but I just haven't had the funds to pick up anything recently. Always on the lookout for that one gun for my indoor
I know
security scout, and if anyone can 3D print something, let me know. I'll take a 3D printed one at this point, and little repro kind of thing. Don't tell anybody. I know around here Toylanta is coming up soon, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to go because they decided to have an Easter egg hunt for the children at my church that day. And
these people,
I'm priorities.
Really, listen, I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm really irritated about it because that's a neat kind of show. A lot of cool things to look at and stuff, and I was really looking forward to going and looking at stuff. But hadn't picked up anything else really Star Wars that I know of. There may be something come about that
the only thing that I had my eye on was, and I didn't even know it was coming out. It just slipped past me. But the Captain Rex Black Series helmet that came out at Target recently. I saw it. I actually saw one live in the store, and it was like $135.
Yeah,
and I'm trying. My wife and I are trying to probably take another trip later this year, and I said, I was like 135, a little pricey. And then Alfie sends me a text, "Hey, it's on sale one day only for like $75 on Target.com." And I go on, gone,
sold out.
Yeah. Well, let me say this: I was just at the property last weekend, and they had tons of them there. I'm not going back until, we'll be near there in June, and I'm going in July for 9 days, and I get 20% off. So if this is still a thing with you, at that point, I will pick one up for you because they did have a bunch of them down there.
Text me. I'll see where I am on my storing away funds for the trip, and if I'm in a good spot, I'll tell you, green light it, and let's go. So
okay. And I will tell you another thing. The other day we were trying to get some stuff framed. I got some Star Wars things framed. I can't really show them to you because the camera's not in position. But when I was going through my stuff, I found this thing that I made, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and I never got it framed. I still don't have it framed because it's going to take a custom frame to do it. But I made this.
And
I don't know if you can tell all the 3D of it.
Very cool. Yeah.
You cut those out of other ones and put them in front, or
what I did was I printed off the cover to Marvel Star Wars number 40. I printed like 10 copies of it, and I got balsa wood and wood glue, and then I built up layers so that it was in kind of a 3D perspective.
Love it.
The thing, and I really was proud of it and thought it was really cool. And then I went and bought a frame for it. It didn't fit in the frame, so it's gonna have to be custom framed if I ever frame it. And I don't know. But anyway, I found it, and I'm really proud of it. So I've stuck it on the shelf in the office here, but I haven't really done anything with it since then.
It's very neat.
Is that Baron Taggy in his hand right there? I forget. Is that?
It is. Yes, it is. In fact, Baron Taggy in his hands. Yes.
Love that.
Love his left hand. Luke in his right hand.
Fantastic. You know what? Any other topics you guys want to hit? Because you guys gave me my laugh for the day. Just listen to crossover C-3PO and Billy D, or Lando and C-3PO. I'm really hoping, Steve, that I think you got a much bigger audience, and I think you should bring that out as a bit now, because having those going back and forth, since you already do the Attenborough, which I think you should do more often.
Here's the thing, my bad Attenborough, or as I like to call him, my Badenborough. That's reserved for you guys. I've never done that over Geek Out Loud since I did.
You haven't?
No, not that I know.
Geez.
Same thing.
Had a Mandela effect.
So it'll be the same thing with this, you know.
Okay.
No, I don't think I have, Scott.
Oh.
I might have. Maybe I was talking about being on here and doing it, but I don't think that I've like. Look, when I come on shows like this, it's like again that agent of chaos comes out in me. I'm like, what can I do to completely derail all these people? And so on that night, we're like Star Wars creatures. I'm like, what is that going to be? A David Attenborough show? Where like the bantha works its way through the desert, lumbering along.
My favorite Attenborough, this was a real one, and they were doing like something on ferrets, and it was like the mating episode or whatever, and the male ferret was trying to put the move on the female ferret, and Attenborough says, "A quick squirt of urine in the face makes her feelings clear." You know, and that really, I thought, well, that's not just ferrets, that's kind of cross species. That would make her feelings clearer to me.
Yeah. I know where we stand on that. So, hey, Scott, I'm not sure. Did I ever show you? I did open up your Jedi cards. I have the packs behind me.
Oh, no.
And I opened up the cards. I actually did a special show. It's on YouTube. I did a little short where I opened up.
I think I did see it, actually. Yes, I did see it.
Yeah. Fantastic. It just, the guys destroyed me because they were like, why did you open those? And I was like, I got a sticker sorry,
Didn't you? I'm trying to remember watching that back when you did it. Didn't you get a duplicate? Like in the two packs, you got a duplicate?
I got duplicates. I got a handful of duplicates in the same 2 packs right there together. But I still have on my desk right here. I keep these on here as a symbol.
Gum?
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah. I like to just smell them. But Alfie dared me to eat them, which I am refusing to do so. But I did tell him if we wanted to do some kind of like,
charity thing,
fundraising thing, sure.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, you haven't opened those.
I've got the one Scott sent me. Scott was gracious enough to send me 2 packs out of his big collection that he bought. And those are from when we were doing Back to the Wax packs with my friend Lucas. And we had come into a really good price on a box of Series 2 Return of the Jedi cards. And that was Series 3 of the Empire cards that somehow I came across a pack of those. But I've got extra packs of like we would open everything and keep a pack back that we did not open just to kind of keep one in the pack. But I also, kept some of the wax wrappers and everything to a lot of those things because
you have to.
And I don't know what to do with them, but figure something out. I've been thinking about opening an Etsy store, and I saw this cool thing that someone took journals and they took like the insert, the slip cover out of a VHS copy of like a Disney movie or something. And they Mod Podged it to the journal cover to have like the cover be the old like the video cassette.
Now, was it actual real thing? Because Disney sells those journals that look like the old clamshell cases.
Yeah, it was someone who was making their own.
Okay.
But I thought I've got a lot of like old beater comics around here and stuff and some different things like that. I think it'd be neat to maybe make some journals out of some of that stuff, take like a collage of superhero clippings and stuff and make an Etsy shop. And so now that I've said it out loud, it will not happen.
No. Well, you got it out of your system now.
That's right.
You feel good. You've released it. It's off of you now. It's out into the ether world.
That's right. So everyone can think, hey, I'd love a Geek Out Loud journal, but you're not getting one.
Let me ask you, because you're a card guy, Steve. The other day, Ryan sends me a text. You know Ryan. Yeah. For those of you who don't know Ryan, he's Ryan.
And for now, now that he's talked about him, Ryan and Scott will be in a feud for the next few months.
Yeah, I have to tell him now. Hey, I did so and so podcast the other day. I didn't mention you. Is that okay? But Ryan was one of the co-hosts on Dinner for Geeks, and he sent me a text the other day, and it was 3 empty card boxes, just the boxes. That you put the card, like you sit at the counter. That kind of stood up, and you know what I'm talking about, Steve. You got one you're going to pull up?
I do.
Yeah, they had the cardboard on top that you'd fold that it would hold. Yeah, exactly.
Those. Yes, there were 3 empty boxes, and they were the Star Wars card boxes. And he said, "Hey, these are available. I think you could get them for $100." And I went, "Why would I pay $100 for 3 empty boxes?" Is that a thing? Do people do that?
Yeah,
People do everything.
Yeah, it's a thing of like I gotta have this. I gotta have this thing. It's so nostalgic. It's what I remember those boxes. And so so like if you go on eBay right now, and that's rare, a Star Wars box.
Yeah, 3 of them, 3 different
Star
ones.
Wars. Was it the tops? Was it the
Yeah, it was old Tops vintage boxes. And they look good, but I just couldn't imagine paying that kind of money for an empty box.
And Steve, while you're looking that up, I have a question for you when you get done. So be prepared.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead and read off what you got. You found it there, I'm sure.
Well, I just found some that were I haven't covered. Okay, empty box series 3, empty box, no wrap with 29 wrappers but no cards. So this also has the wrappers of this is the original Star Wars series 3. I think that was the yellow border or green border. Anyhow, $50 is the asking right now.
Oh my goodness.
Same thing for series 2. Series 5 they're asking $40. That was the orange, and series 4 they're asking $70. That was the green. Series 3 an open wax box. Oh, that's for the cards. So yeah, there you'll I didn't say Siri. Stupid AI. Okay, here we go. Look at this. 1977 Topps Series 1 empty wax box, no cards, no packs. Now they're asking $250 for it.
Wow.
So let me see what some have sold for here. I'm sorry. This is all on eBay. This is just me doing eBay.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at some $30, $40, $50. Jedi's 30. 250.
Star Series 3, I see a $20 one. Here's 3 different boxes. Series 2, 3, and 4 for $100 for all the boxes.
That's just insane for a very. Those boxes are not sturdy.
No, they're not, especially the ones from the 70s. Yeah, all of them are around that 3. So here's a Series 1. It's not in the best shape. $96 is what it sold for.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No, thanks.
Yep. Empire Strikes Back, 40. Those are cool boxes.
Let's see. 83 start Return of the Jedi box plus 2 wrappers, 16. Buy it now. Buy it now.
I'm not going to do that. Nope. Anyhow, Joey, you had something.
Oh, yeah. I can probably still get my hands on some Rule of the Galaxy shirts or hats or things like that if either of you are ever interested in that. But I got to think, at some point in time, Scott, did you ever make my Star Wars story shirts or hats? And Steve, Geek Out Loud, any apparel from there?
Yeah. Yes,
is it still available right now?
No, it's not, because I had someone that I knew that printed T-shirts and stuff, and they printed them up. They printed up a run for me, and I sold them, and it was miserable.
Well, yeah, it is miserable. I mean, but it's still fun to have. So.
I've got. Well, you know what? I take that back. Let me see if there's still a Spreadshirt shop over there.
I
made
lost
money off of that.
I lost money making our Star because I was like, yeah, I'll buy some here. I'll buy a thing and take them to conventions, and I ended up giving most of them away to people. So,
well, there's doing things for fun and profit, and then there's podcasting, which is just for fun,
right?
Not profit.
I have I've got a Spreadshirt shop that has some stuff. I've got a Rock Out Loud merch there. That's all I'm showing right there is the Rock Out Loud shirt.
We opened a Dinner for Geeks shop. What was it? It wasn't, I don't even know what Spreadshirt is. What was the one that was big everybody was doing?
TeePublic?
Yeah, it might have been TeePublic. We opened a Dinner for Geeks store, and I think all that was ever sold in it was I bought a Dinner for Geeks t-shirt and Ryan bought a tumbler. And I don't know that Ryan got I think Ryan may have had the tumbler made. I don't know that Ryan got the tumbler from our shop, now that I think about it.
I did a
good looking tumbler.
Yeah, I've got a Spreadshirt shop, and it's got some stuff from the different things. Where am I at here? Why can I?
Speaking of ways you can't make money in podcasting, how much money did you ever make from the Amazon link?
Wow. At the height of it,
Yeah.
I'd make about $100 a month.
That's the height.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not really that great.
No.
Yeah.
That's a lot of free Amazon plugs for you to only get that.
Right. So I've got on the store right now, I've got a Geek Out Loud shirt that says "Go Loud," which is really not smart. Which is like goal, goal is what it's called. It's in the GI Joe logo form.
Oh, cool.
I've got some Mark Out Loud stuff. There is a Geek Out Loud shirt over there. I don't know why they're being promoted as being in purple, but there they are. Men and women's hoodies. This is all at Spread Shop, but I don't really make it. I don't know how to make money off of Spread Shop.
Yeah.
But I've got a gold shirt that is Geek Out Loud, and it's done up in the font of what's a Return of the Jedi font, really, from some of the things. And so that's one that I was kind of proud of that I made.
Red lettering.
Yeah, I've got one that's all red lettering and one that's got the red race track thing on the top and the bottom, and then the white lettering like the toys had.
Okay.
Period there. Yeah.
Ooh.
Toddler shirts, men's, women's. I mean, it's the Spread Shop. It's the Spread Shirt Shop. But I don't know that I make any money off of these things.
I think you would know if you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I also don't promote it, but I also like the way you set up and no one wants to hear this. If anyone knows how to do spread shirts so that I make money off of what's on there, reach out to me, geekoutonline@gmail.com.
There we go.
Yeah, maybe you can tell me what I'm doing wrong. Maybe because you have to. I don't know. I don't understand it. Like I never learn. What I do is I hear someone say, "Hey, use this," and I go try it, and I never actually Google or do a tutorial or anything. I'm just like, let me just jump in with both feet, and then it's over.
Okay. Well, I will close up on my end with stuff because we're going to do a mixed show. It's a drive-through mixed show compared to Steve's 3-hour marathons. Next weekend, Indy Comic Con is going on. I will be out of town, but my son Joey and my cousin Alfie from the show will be going. I got them press passes. Rosario Dawson, Hayden Christensen, Hera, Vanessa Marshall, and a few other, I think a few other people from Rebels maybe are going to be there. Anthony Daniels is going to be there, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing what they record, what they do video wise. But I will be in Philadelphia and New York with D-Doc, and I'm going to go see with my wife. I'm going to go see the Italian national soccer team play at Red Bull Arena in New Jersey. So I will be missing out on Comic-Con, but hopefully we'll have some content from that next week. And then following up with that, we have, who do we have? We have Emily Swallow, the armorer, who's going to be coming on, Claudia Gray, the author, and then John Jackson Miller, the author. So those are our guests coming up pretty soon. So that's about it for me on my end. How about you guys? Anything coming up in the near future? I know March Madness for you, Steve. What, Scott, anything you're working on?
I'm working on getting up every morning and going and doing my show for 4 solid hours, and then turning it into a podcast and putting it out there. And that's kind of what I'm focusing on at this point.
Is that Shaz? Is that Shaz?
What?
Is that Shaz that you're talking to? Is that Shaz on your show? Is that Shaz Bizarre?
Sounds like Shaz. No, but you know what? Yesterday, same lovely Mikey Morris starts going, is that Steve? Does Steve Glosson sound like Steve? And it was not you, because I think you didn't call.
I didn't call. No, I didn't. No, we do have March Madness, and I was thinking about this the other day, Joe. Last year, not around this time, a little bit earlier in the year than this time, I was on this show, and you're like, man, you're really tearing it up over Geek Out Loud. And I said to you, don't jinx it. You're about to jinx it. And you know what you did? You jinxed it.
I know. I'm sorry.
You up and rolling good, and so now don't say anything. We may have March Madness happening. We may not. It may all fall apart because this is a lot more work than I wanted to put into it. But
well, you could do like if you don't make it to March Madness, you could do like April aphasia or something.
Yeah, April
apathy.
Yeah, I was looking for some kind of a mental brain condition. So
yeah, I don't. anything I would say at this point would be very offensive. So
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Guys, I can't thank you enough. You guys are just two fun guys I love chatting it up with, and you guys take the time to come and do this with me. I really appreciate it. And we have some good fun and laughs, and we talk about a little bit of everything, which is what's even more fun for me. I don't remember what all we mixed in. I'm still stuck on Billy D playing C-3PO. So, and that was an hour and a half ago. But I appreciate you guys more than you know. Hopefully I've got a chance to meet up with Scott, and it was great. And I want to do that again for either a convention or a lunch or a dinner.
Or if we have another family death, I'll arrange that.
Oh gosh, God, that's not even.
We'll just
I
make sure there's a death in the family. I can get with you.
So we can't do anything on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Monday. I think maybe one day a week we can do stuff from the football season with Scott.
Yeah,
so we got to try to meet up with him before then,
or Friday,
or Friday.
Saturday.
Steve, you're near Atlanta, right? Somewhat north of Atlanta.
Yeah. I'm about an hour and a half outside of Atlanta.
So
he is in Rome.
So I will tell you, I've got my new job. I've got an office in Charleston, Savannah, Jacksonville, and Atlanta. So
nice.
If I can get to any of those places for work, you can guarantee it. But I really would like to get my crew with you guys sometime together. We got to figure something out because we just have a good time if we did so.
I don't think your crew likes me, but I'm glad you do.
I'm not going to say on the air anything related to that. All my guys think you're freaking hilarious. I think there's some people on my crew that think differently than you, but they don't dislike you. They just think differently.
Oh.
That's not possible.
That's not a story. I'll say this:
you're living in a fantasy world.
As far as getting together, I know a guy who lives smack in the middle between Savannah and Jacksonville. So,
see, there we go.
Just saying.
That's Scott Ryfun.
That would be Scott Ryfun. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Also the aforementioned Ryan.
And yes, Ryan lives right there too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ronald and Jeff, if you want to get the whole gang of geeks. Together.
I'm kind of good with this group right here. I don't need. I've got 5 friends. I don't need to add.
Thomas is down there.
No,
Thomas,
we're done.
Yes.
Now I really feel like we're doing a jerk episode. Now that we're doing Thomas and Bill.
No, they really are. These are all real people.
Those are all I need.
That's all I need. Guys, thank you again. I appreciate you. Look forward to the March Madness thing if it ever comes off the ground.
Hey,
Steve?
Great. This is a great show. This is one of the best shows. It's tremendous. All the other Star Wars shows are junk. That's not what I said. That's what they tell me. They tell me that. But Rule the Galaxy, wonderful show. Great show. So glad to be here.
And we are too. So until next time, for me, for Scott, for Steve.
That's me.
May the Force be with you.
And also with you.